today, you talked about someone. Maybe at work, maybe at the kitchen table, or on a messaging screen, just with your fingers, without even making a sound. Did you hear what she did? You said. Or you said nothing, you just listened, nodded, and smiled inside. Maybe you even felt guilty, told yourself I shouldn't do this, and then kept going anyway. You think this is a small, harmless, slightly shameful habit, like a tiny flaw in your character. It's not. This habit kept your species alive. You've been doing this for 50,000 years, without a single break, every single day, at every single fire. You're just the last link in a very long, very old chain. And that chain never broke, because if it had, you wouldn't be here. Every generation passed this habit to the next without even knowing it, exactly like you're doing right now. Now put down your phone. Sit by the fire. There are 15 people around you, maybe 20, everyone knows everyone needs everyone. The day is over, the hunt is over, darkness is closing in from every side, and out there, in the dark, eyes are glowing. No one goes out alone, no one sleeps alone. And all you do is talk. Who hid their share today, who ran off scared, who left the wounded behind, who you can trust, who you can never trust. This conversation isn't entertainment, it isn't a way to kill time. 50,000 years ago, the whispers around that fire were survival itself. Everyone is talking, everyone is listening closely, because their lives depend on exactly this. Trust the wrong person, and you might not see the morning. That's why everyone is listening, everyone is memorizing, no one is distracted. You were taught that gossip is shallow, pointless, even a character flaw. Grown-ups don't gossip, they told you. Mature people don't care about other people's lives, they said. That idea is wrong, and science says so, clearly. Gossip was one of the mechanisms that made us human, maybe the most important one. Some researchers believe language itself evolved for exactly this reason, so we could talk about each other. Not to make tools, not to plan a hunt, not to discuss the weather. So what you were taught to call a bad habit was actually one of the engines that grew your brain, and kept your species alive to this day. Instead of feeling ashamed, maybe you should feel grateful. Here's the shocking part. About 2/3 of an adult's daily conversation is still gossip. Not politics. Not economics. Not even sports. People talk about people. Who cheated on who played favorites, who lied to who got promoted, who got fired, who started seeing who broke up. This number is a measured fact, not a guess, not a joke. And when you trace this evidence backward, it pulls you out of your office, out of your kitchen, out of your phone, and drops you straight into a forest, in the middle of a group of monkeys. There, you'll find gossip's very first form, gossip done with fingers, wordless, but deeply meaningful. Chimpanzees and baboons spend up to 20% of their day grooming each other. That's hours stolen from foraging for food. Not to remove lice, not for hygiene, not even close. To bond. Whoever you groom, you trust. Whoever grooms you, is on your side. Look at who spends time with who in a baboon troop, and you can read the entire hierarchy, every alliance, every hidden rivalry, from this silent conversation happening in their fingers, without a single word spoken. Grooming is that group's social network, slow, written by touch, but an incredibly strong, incredibly reliable network. Today's networks descend from something that once ran entirely on fingers. So how did your human ancestors one day put down their fingers and start using their voice? The answer isn't romantic. It was a cold, ruthless math problem. As human groups grew larger, they hit a wall. Anthropologist Robin Dunbar sat down and calculated it. To hold together a group of 150 people, like monkeys do, using grooming alone, you'd need to spend more than 40% of your day just cleaning someone else's back. You'd have no time to gather food. No time to hunt. No time to build shelter, raise children, or even sleep. This was mathematically impossible, not a fantasy, a real wall. Either you stayed small, fragile, exposed to danger, or you found a completely different way. Evolution chose the second option. Dunbar's book, Grooming, Gossip, and the Evolution of Language, steps in right here. His claim is simple but startling: language evolved to replace grooming. Grooming done with sound. A system where voice reaches places hands never could. You no longer needed to physically touch someone, you just needed to talk about them, or to them. Fingers were always limited to one person at a time, that was never going to change. Voice could reach several ears, several minds, at the exact same moment, and that small difference changed everything. A tiny technical difference, but a massive result. So here's the message: talking is social care done with a voice instead of fingers. And it came with a massive advantage. Grooming someone means you're locked in with just that one person, no one else, completely occupied. But while talking, you can bond with 3, 4 people at the same time. Language turns social care from retail into wholesale. With the same energy, in the same window of time, you could maintain far more relationships. The group could grow because language could grow, and as the group grew, so did its odds of survival. A bigger group meant more eyes, more ears, fewer surprises. And sometimes, fewer surprises was the difference between life and death. But this wasn't just about making friends. Your survival depended directly on cooperation. Cooperation depended on trust. And there was only one way to measure trust: information. Who honestly shares their portion, who falls asleep on night watch, who quietly runs when they spot danger instead of warning you, who cheats on their partner, who mistreats their child, who breaks their word. A group without this information would eventually trust the wrong person, and lose someone, maybe everyone, because of it. Information wasn't a luxury back then, it wasn't decoration, it was survival. Someone who didn't know, didn't ask, didn't listen, was the group's weakest link. Gossip was really a constantly updating, living reputation tracking system. You had to hold in your memory who kept their word, who hid the meat, who turned their back on you, because there was no writing, no notebook, no record, only memory and speech. If one person forgot, it wasn't a big deal, the group would correct them, someone would remind them. But if the whole group forgot, they'd keep trusting that weak, unreliable link, and one day everyone would pay for it with their lives. Memory was a survival tool back then, not entertainment, not a way to pass the time like it is today. Whoever had the best memory lived the longest. So was gossip just something malicious, something bad? No, quite the opposite. Mathematical models show that someone acting selfishly can't hide for long in a community that gossips. Everyone talks about what they did, everyone finds out, everyone slowly drifts away from them, no one gives them a share of food, no one says a word, they just quietly cut them out. Gossip was an invisible court that punished those who exploited the group, with no judge, no lawyer, and no appeal. The punishment wasn't prison. The punishment was loneliness. And loneliness, in that era, was a slow, silent death. No one had to kill you, they just had to stop helping you, that was enough. They didn't even need to throw a spear. And this structure hasn't broken down, even today. When researchers studied natural, spontaneously forming conversation groups on the street, in cafeterias, at parties, in office kitchens, they kept landing on the same number: 4 people. 1 talks, 3 listen. When a 5th person joins, the group splits in 2 without anyone noticing, no one plans it, no one says let's split up, but everyone splits at once anyway. Just like a baboon can only effectively groom so many individuals at once, human conversation also never crosses an invisible, but extremely rigid, limit, no matter how social you are. Your brain has a fixed capacity for how many people it can really listen to. Here's something you never asked, but should: why do tabloids, gossip sites, and celebrity breakup stories still sell, still get so many clicks? In one study, 78% of the pages in the best-selling tabloid were human interest stories. Who's with who cheated on who fell, who rose, who went bankrupt, who left who. Politics, economics, sports, culture, everything else in the world barely fit into the remaining 22%. This isn't a coincidence. It's a design, and that design has been sitting in your brain, unchanged, for 50,000 years. Advertising agencies know this, media companies know this. You, maybe, didn't know it until now. So while you were reading a headline last night about who left who, you were acting no differently from a caveman sitting by the fire 50,000 years ago. Same brain, same hunger, same rush, only the screen changed, a glowing piece of glass replaced the fire. Even Grumk, telling you this right now, is thinking about someone, trying to remember which friend gossiped about who last, who's mad at who, and then catches himself, embarrassed, and gets back to the point. Go on, admit it, you were thinking about someone too, weren't you? This need existed long before language did. Touch during grooming released oxytocin in the brain, the hormone of trust and bonding, the chemical version of love, as basic as a mother's scent, as old as infancy itself. When talking replaced that touch, the brain kept producing the same chemistry, the same reward, the same warmth, because for your brain, the new system was built on top of the old one. It didn't erase it, it just layered over it. A conversation was as physical, as real, as an actual handshake, an actual hug. Words worked like invisible hands, touching without touching, hugging from a distance. Even a single message, at the right moment, can produce that same warmth. And this is where the dark side of gossip began. When the group stopped talking about you, when they silently erased you, when conversations suddenly stopped as you approached, that was a single sentence, a death sentence. A person left alone was now prey, only prey, unprotected meat, a body with no one to keep watch at night, no one there when they woke up. Someone pushed out of the group could end up in a predator's stomach, or on the cold ground from starvation, within a few weeks. Being excluded hurts today, and passes. Back then, it meant an execution with no way back. No one had to pick up a weapon, they just had to step back, just stop talking to you, and that alone could kill you. In the Sungir region of Russia, a 34,000-year-old grave was found. 2 children buried inside were covered, head to toe, in tens of thousands of ivory beads, on their headdresses, on their arms, next to their spears. Making these beads with stone tools alone would have taken thousands of hours, months of labor from an entire community. A community would only give that much effort to 2 children who hadn't achieved anything yet, hadn't killed a single animal, purely because of that family's, that lineage's, reputation. Even after death, who you were, what people said about you, still mattered, even underground. Reputation was something carried all the way to the grave, even into it. Now come back to today. That small, familiar rush you felt when you talked about someone earlier, or that stone-like weight in your stomach when you found out someone was talking about you, wasn't a coincidence, wasn't some random, unexplainable feeling. Your brain is still running a 50,000-year-old alarm, non-stop, silently, without you even knowing it. You're still sitting by the fire, still calculating who trusts you and who doesn't. Only now the fire is a screen, the listeners are followers, and the glow is blue. But the fear is the same fear, the need is the same need. Gossip isn't a flaw. It was our survival strategy. And it still is.